recently I was very kindly given this sledgehammer head by someone on Free Cycle. It's a great website for exchanging and sharing free gifts and unwanted junk you no longer need. You know what they say about one person's junk can be someone else's treasure. Well, I put an ad on there asking for a sledgehammer, if anyone had one I could borrow, and someone offered me this head, and I said, okay, I'll make the handle for it and that'll be okay. I'm doing some fencing at home at the minute, and I want to drive some posts, some met post spikes into the ground to replace the rotten posts, so this is essential really. But then I didn't want to buy a new sledgehammer because I might use it this one time and then just never use it again. It'd be a waste of money, you know. So I've been out this morning, I thought, okay, a new handle's less than £5, I'll buy one. I picked it up, tried it, and I just got it back in, and it's, as you can see, it's far too loose. Even with a few wedges in there, it's going to be too loose, and with something weighing this much, you know, that's quite substantial. It's going to be dangerous if that comes off. It could break anything, not least myself. So I'm now back to my original plan of making a handle from scratch. I've got a big lump of beech here, and I'll rip down on the bandsaw, then play it nice and square. The only good thing about having a handle is that I do have a ready-made template to work from. This is my prepared blank of beech. As you can just see, I've made it slightly wider than the diameter of the hole here. This is because on the original handle here, you see it's wider at this part beneath the head of the hammer. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is to form this tenon, fit into this hole. If you look at this end more closely, you can see two things. First of all, there's a split going down here, actually two of them. So I'll put that at the far end, down here where I'm going to hold it. Also, looking more closely, the grain is running at an angle, which means it's not as strong. But at this end it's much stronger because the grain is parallel to the timber. I am using beech here, but you could use maple. I think they're traditionally made from hickory, these handles, but any sort of tight grained hardwood would be fine. So I've cut one end nice and clean and square on my mitre saw, and I've just roughly marked out the rectangular width of this tenon. So now what I can do is to take the head and to try and locate it, although you can't really see what I'm doing here. You can just see my pencil lines inside there. So now I can take my pencil and just trace out the radius, like so. And that gives me some rough shapes to work to. Now what I've got to do is try and find some router cutters that will closely match this radius so I can remove the bulk of the waste. Ultimately I think I'm going to end up shaping this by hand at the end to get a very tight fit. Just looking through my set of router cutters, the 3/4 inch radius bit is a fairly close match. The only trouble is with this bearing on here, even if I take that off there's going to be a screw thread in there. That's going to limit my projection to about that much there. So I've still got to cut around, let's say, it's only going to cut about this far at best. What I then might have to do is either switch to a 1 inch radius bit like this, but I've still got the same trouble here with the screw thread. But if I stand the board on an edge and feed it this way, I can hopefully get in a bit closer like this, and that'll be pretty close to the finished size. As I could only do the two corners on one side, I've moved my stop block over to here. I'm not going to work from this side. But I won't be feeding from this direction because that would be climb cutting. So instead, I'm going to carefully place it against my stop, pivoting the bit into the cutter, and then feeding off. And I'll be using a push block to keep my hands well away from the cutter. As you can just see there, I'm gradually getting closer to my lines at the top and bottom here. And if I now take that 1-inch cutter, I reckon I can just about remove the bulk of that waste there. And before I do that, I just had a bit of a brainwave. I can bandsaw these bits off here to get them nice and flat, and then I can get my cutter in even closer. A bit of bandsawing to remove the cheeks again. It's getting pretty close. It's going to need a bit of shaping with some rust, I think, to get that to fit. I did make a minor mistake by taking too much off this corner somehow. I'm still not quite sure how that happened. It should have been symmetrical, but yeah, if I can cut back into these corners here, I've got to have a nice shoulder to fit into. I'm not too concerned about the state of these shoulders down here because, for one thing, they won't be seen. Another point, it's a sledgehammer handle, and thirdly, I've still got to round off these corners here. I'm going to try and assemble this sledgehammer, see how the tenon fits. Got a block of wood on the floor to protect the end of the handle. I'm just going to fit the head over the tenon and try to force it down onto the wood. As you can see there, it's about halfway down. I'm pretty confident that will go all the way through if I force it. So before I do that and find it stuck in there, I'm going to take it out and cut some slots for some wedges. when my battery's dying, I am drilling some small holes to stop these slots from elongating once the wedges are driven in. Otherwise it could split the wood. Looking again at this original handle, you can see the larger portion here stops about there, supporting the underside of the head. So I've marked that one here. First I'm going to knock these corners off at the top with a 3/4 inch radius bit. Then I work on trimming the handle down for a comfortable fit between two hands.
I think that'll do for the basic shape. You can see it's slightly more substantial than the original, made for a man with bigger hands. Now it's time to knock it together. I can always finesse this a bit further later on once it's all glued in.
Okay, no glue on here. Slips in quite easy.
applying a waterproof glue to these wedges. These are cut from English oak. Any durable timber will do. Oak, of course, is highly durable in external conditions. That kind of thud there means you've gone as far as you can with these wedges. As you can see, I've already broken that one, but that's okay. It's broken above the joint. Now I can very carefully insert the 3 intermediate wedges. I'll leave that now for a few hours, then it should be time to put it to good use.
So, one day I might give this hammer some sanding and a few coats of oil for protection, but in the meantime I'm going to call this done. It's served its purpose so far and I might use it again one day, who knows. But I hope you enjoyed watching. I hope you've learned enough to feel confident in making your own handle should the need arise. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon with some more videos.